A rookie sailor forgot to secure the sonar sync cable during a silent drill. 12 minutes later, the USS Grant detected an unknown signal trailing their stern. They were 640 feet beneath the icy waters of the Norwegian Sea. Inside the control room, the temperature wasn't the problem. It was the silence. Not the kind trained sailors respected, but the kind that came when 135 people realized someone among them had just made the kind of mistake that could get everyone killed. Commander. Wyatt Ellison stood dead center, his face unreadable. Source of the anomaly? He asked quietly. Petty Officer Cale at sonar hesitated. Appears to be a ghost ping, sir. Weak. Almost like a passive echo, but mismatched timing. Ellison turned. And that means? It came from inside, sir. From us. The room held its breath. Ellison's eyes swept to the auxiliary comm station. A single crewman stood there, frozen. Seaman Cole Madsen. Barely 20, smart, eager, and now visibly crumbling. Ellison didn't raise his voice. Seaman Madsen, did you lock out the external sync before initiating diagnostics? I thought I had, sir. I ran the checklist. That's not the question. Madsen's voice fell. No, sir. I didn't double verify. I assumed it was in local test mode. Ellison nodded slowly, then turned to Executive Officer Lang. End drill. All stations hold. Note protocol breach. Source, sonar auxiliary. Lang recorded it. The crew said nothing. No eye contact. Just lowered heads and tightened grips on consoles. Because everyone knew what came next. Ellison stepped toward Madsen. You thought a simulation meant margin for error. It doesn't. Not here. Not 600 feet underwater with classified payload and foreign listening platforms hunting for a trace. Yes, sir. We are ghosts. The ocean is our cloak. You pierced it. Madsen's throat tightened. Understood, sir. Not yet. You. Don't. Ellison turned away. XO. Reassign Seaman Madsen to vent duct inspection. Full rotation. No headset. Manual check only. Yes, sir. The drill ended. But the real test had just begun. 3 hours later, Madsen crawled through a narrow inspection shaft, scraping his knuckles on frost-covered steel. Each vent was a silent judgment. He found nothing wrong, but every time he touched a seal, he imagined it leaking noise. Down in sonar, Petty Officer Cale leaned toward Commander Ellison. Sir, I've got something strange. What kind of strange? It's nothing solid, just rhythm. External? Yes, sir. Long, low pulses. No signature, no pings. Could be terrain bounce. Could be a slow-moving contact. Ellison frowned. Could be they heard our slip, or it could be unrelated. Ellison nodded. I don't believe in unrelated at this. Depth. He walked to the reactor station. Initiate ultra-silent mode. Cut internal diagnostics. No more drills. Yes, sir. In the vent shaft, Madsen felt the shift. The fan stopped. The heat cut. The metal beneath him stiffened. It was as if the boat had gone completely still. He knew what that meant. They were hiding, and something out there was looking. In sonar, Cale adjusted the filters. Sir, I think they're matching our depth. Contact shifting. Down. Ellison didn't flinch. They're shadowing us. Long range. Passive. But they're closing. XO Lang added. Could be a drone. Could be something bigger. We're not waiting to find out, Ellison replied. Plot evasive drift. No propulsion. Let the current pull us along thermals. We don't show them movement. We show them silence. Madsen reached the final vent. As he checked the seal, he noticed something. Condensation forming unevenly around the exhaust ring. He touched it. Warm. Not reactor warm, but warmer than it should have been. He moved his face closer and listened. Nothing. But then, just barely. Click. Then another. Timing wasn't mechanical. It was irregular, like a slow acoustic tick. He sat up, grabbed the manual notepad, Scribbled, possible acoustic bleed or trace signal echo in starboard vent shaft. Source unknown. Suggest passive trace isolation. He placed the message in the emergency courier tube and sent it toward the command station. Minutes later, XO Lang opened the tube. Read the note. Paused. He handed it to Ellison. From Madsen. Ellison raised an eyebrow. He looked at the note. Read it twice, then turned to Cale. Confirm. Cale ran the sweep. After a moment, he looked up. There's a pressure offset. Narrow band echo forming along the hull's outer midline. Not from us, and not terrain. Ellison straightened. They're here, closer than we thought. He turned to weapons. No alert, no prep, but load decoys. We may need to show them. We can vanish, he paused, and get Madsen up here, now. Madsen entered the control room, nervous, unsure. Ellison handed him the note he had written. This saved us 5 minutes, maybe more. You saw something the instruments didn't. You trusted your gut. Madsen stayed quiet. Ellison added, I'm not praising you. I'm telling you, this is the price of a second chance. Don't make me regret it. No, sir. Good. Because out here, second chances are rare, and third chances don't exist. The lights dimmed, and the ocean listened. The USS Grant floated like a shadow inside a world of darkness. It had been 5 hours since the first suspected contact. They hadn't moved. They hadn't spoken above a whisper. They hadn't even flushed a toilet, because something was out there, and it was hunting slowly. Commander, said Petty Officer Cale in a hushed voice. Contact bearing confirmed. 193. Distance, 2.1 nautical miles. No active sonar. Propulsion noise low. Could be a diesel-electric sub drifting. In battery mode, Commander Ellison nodded slowly. No nav lights, no pings, just listening. They're testing our nerve. XO Lang stood beside him. What do you want to do? We stay still. We breathe quiet. And we wait for their mistake. But they weren't the only ones feeling the wait. 2 decks down, in the cold crawl space beneath auxiliary systems, Seaman Cole Madsen lay on his side, pressed against a steel panel, staring at the moisture forming along a condensation line. The low-level air recirculator was vibrating, just slightly. It wasn't enough to be an alert, not enough to trigger alarms, but it was real. Madsen reached for his tablet, tapped the internal acoustic graph, and watched a faint pattern emerge, barely visible. The recirculator's secondary mount was causing a low-frequency resonance. If someone out there was running ultra-sensitive hydrophones, it would sound like a heartbeat in the water, and right now, the Grant couldn't afford a pulse. He scribbled a note. Secondary air unit vibrating at 8 Hz. Slight acoustic bleed. Recommend full shutdown and isolation. He clipped it to the emergency line and pulled the signal tab. Up in the control room, Cale's screen lit up with a new echo. Sir, they're adjusting heading. Contact now bearing 190. Closing to 1.8 nautical miles. Still passive. Ellison's fingers clenched behind his back. They're triangulating. Still no active sonar, but... Sir, Cale hesitated. We're not ghosting well enough. They're hearing something. Then the courier tube dropped beside Lang. He opened it. Madsen's handwriting. Rough, fast. He handed it to Ellison. Ellison read it, then looked at Roland, the systems chief. Confirm this. Roland called over comms, only once, whispered. Seconds later, confirmation came through. Yes, the air unit was vibrating. Yes, it was minor. And yes, it was enough to bleed through. Kill it, Ellison ordered. The command went out in silence. Madsen, still crouched, watched the panel flicker and go dark. Then something happened. The sonar screen shifted. Sir, Cale breathed. Contact just turned. Sharp pivot. They're backing off? Repeat. Confirmed. They're retracting, slowing, possibly lost trace. Lang exhaled through his teeth. That leak was the edge, he said. They were close. One more sound, and they'd have had us. Ellison didn't speak. He just stared at the display for another 20 seconds before turning toward the silent tube system. He scribbled a short note and sent it down. 10 minutes later, in the crawl space, Madsen opened the metal cylinder and read the message inside. 2 words. Good instincts. No signature. No rank. Just validation in ink. He sat there a long time, in the dark, reading it again and again. No one came to shake his hand. No one promoted him, but everyone who mattered had just heard the same thing. He was no longer the mistake. He was the reason they were still ghosts. The ocean above was still, but below tension surged like an undertow ready to pull everything down. "Commander," Petty Officer Cale said, not looking up from the sonar display. "Contact is moving again. They've changed depth, now matching ours. Distance, 1.2 nautical miles. No pings, but they're riding our shadow." Commander Ellison said nothing. He stood still, arms folded, watching the display pulse like a slow heartbeat. Lang leaned in. "They're not curious anymore. They're hunting." "Not yet," Ellison muttered. "They're still waiting for us to move. They want confirmation." He turned to weapons. "Load decoy tubes 2 and 3. No launch, just readiness." A soft murmur of acknowledgement followed, but no one moved fast. No one dared. 2 decks down, Madsen was beneath the midline ballast junction, wiping condensation from a valve housing when he heard it again. The faint click. He froze. 1, 2, 3. Different from before. Faster. Tighter. He shifted position and put his head near the insulation wall. Click. Click. Pause. Then, bop. A low. Short pulse. Unmistakable. Active sonar, and it hadn't come from the USS Grant. Madsen's blood chilled. Upstairs, Cale confirmed it. Ping detected, directional, short burst, bearing 189. They're testing a firing solution, thermal. "Trail?" Ellison asked. "Faint, but they have enough." Lang turned. "They're about to fire," Ellison snapped to weapons. "Launch both decoys now. Dive immediately. 30-degree angle. All hands brace." With a muffled hiss, 2 acoustic decoys shot into the water, each programmed to simulate the USS Grant's heat signature, noise pattern, and ballast trace. Then the sub nosed down. Fast. Lights flickered as pressure increased. The torpedo ping came seconds later. "Incoming!" Cale shouted. "1 contact, high speed, locked onto decoy 1, second torpedo. Wait, delayed launch, tracking second echo." "Hold dive," Ellison ordered. "Level at 800 feet, wait for impact." In the belly of the submarine, Madsen gripped the wall. The dive was sharp, violent. Steel moaned all around him. Then, boom, a deep thud. Distant but close enough to feel, followed by a second. The sub rocked, panels rattled, lights dimmed. Somewhere, aft, a pipe-vented steam. Both torpedoes hit decoys, Cale confirmed, voice shaky. No hull contact. Enemy sonar sweep going wide. Must think we're gone. Hold depth, Ellison said. Run silent. We don't confirm their mistake. Minutes passed, then an hour. Eventually, sonar cleared. The enemy had vanished, but no one relaxed. No one spoke loudly. Not yet. In the stillness, Ellison turned to Lang. I want full crew check. Quiet, one by one. Start with auxiliary. 10 minutes later, Lang found Madsen sitting alone in a damage control alcove. He was soaked with sweat, dirt under his nails. Knees pulled up, arms wrapped around them like a soldier too tired to stand. You alive? Lang asked softly. Yes, sir. Lang looked around. You get hit? No, sir. You heard it coming. Madsen nodded slowly. I felt it before. Sonar did. Lang crouched beside him. You trust that instinct now? I do. Lang handed him something small, a metal pin, unmarked. But every sailor knew what it meant. Temporary command clearance for systems duty. Commander wants you shadowing sonar ops. Not touching yet, but watching. Learning. Madsen blinked. Me? You. You made the first mistake. You've earned the right to be part of the last decision. Madsen took the pin and stared at it. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. But deep inside, something in him shifted. He was no longer just surviving, he was serving. The USS Grant hovered at periscope depth. Stillness had returned, not the kind born from fear, but the kind born from control. "Commander," said Cale. "No follow contacts. Scope is clear. Sky is clean. We're alone again." Ellison didn't respond immediately. He was looking through the periscope, scanning the pale gray horizon line above. Then he turned to XO Lang. "Surface in 10. Quiet protocols until dock. Full report to command. No names, no narratives, just the facts." "Yes, sir." He paused. "Including Seaman Madsen?" Ellison nodded. "Especially Madsen." Below, in the sonar room, Madsen sat beside Petty. Officer Cale, headset half on. He wasn't touching the controls, just watching, listening, absorbing. Not once did he ask a question. Not once did he break posture. He just paid attention. Cale leaned over. "You feel the difference?" he asked. Madsen looked at him. "Between noise and signal," Cale said. Madsen nodded. "I do now." In the galley, conversations slowly resumed, in whispers. Smiles appeared. Shoulders eased. Some sailors returned to cards. Others closed their eyes in bunks, catching a rare hour of sleep that didn't feel like borrowed time. But in auxiliary, Madsen stayed. Long after his shift ended, he kept working, quietly rechecking the same vents, tightening bolts, wiping moisture. Not because he was ordered, because he knew now. It mattered. Every screw, every seal, every sound. Each one could be the start of disaster, or the reason disaster never arrived. Later that evening, Ellison stood in the narrow walkway between sonar and the bridge, watching Madsen walk past on his way to debrief. He didn't stop him, just said, without turning around, "You're not a rookie anymore." Madsen paused. "Thank you, sir." "No," Ellison replied. "You don't earn that with words. You earn it with silence." The next morning, the USS Grant docked. No ceremonies, no flags, no headlines, just handshakes, logged hours, unloaded data, fuel checks. As the crew filed, off in small groups, Madsen lingered. He didn't want to leave the silence. Not yet. He turned, one last time, to look at the steel that had held them all. He didn't salute. He didn't need to. The boat had already heard him. Out here, beneath miles of ocean, there are no warnings, no second chances, just choices, and the silence that follows them. Seaman Madsen started as a mistake, but he listened, he learned. And in the depths, he didn't just correct his error, he became the reason others lived to surface again. Would you have trusted him after that first mistake? Or would you have pulled him from the field? Share your answer in the comments. And if stories like this remind you why silence, leadership, and redemption matter, subscribe to Authority Watch and hit the bell for more true stories from the deep.